Welcome into the Beat Sessions, your place for all things music. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. Let's kick things off for the week of August 30th with a new record from Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, entitled Wild God. This is the 18th studio album for the outfit, and their follow-up to 2019's Ghosteen. Nick Cave and longtime collaborator Warren Ellis also put out a great album called Carnage back in 2021. If you haven't checked that out, please give that a listen. Nick Cave, so one of a kind. After 4 decades, there is no one like him at all, period, in the entertainment industry. Admired and loved by his fans, by artists alike. And he's one of those guys that I feel like your average, fan of music, film, whatever, is not aware of him. And they're definitely not aware of his ubiquitous influence. I mean, the guy does everything. I mean, when he's writing songs, he's writing screenplays, he's writing scores for film and television. He can act. He's all over the place. So immensely talented. And that persona of his, he seriously reminds me, of like Mary Shelley, whose birthday is August 30th, by the way. All these other 19th century romantic authors. Think of like Samuel Taylor Coleridge. Think of Edgar Allan Poe. Even Bram Stoker coming along with Dracula. That gothic romantic element. I feel like Nick Cave is one of those guys that, this group of people would have loved, just have conceived of him and had him in a book. He's that cool. He's that one of a kind. And it really carries over in his music style, that post-punk combination of like gothic rock. And he's so intense. And I might argue that that's a big part of where he lacks commercial appeal, and to hell with that, because who cares about it, right? I really appreciate the fact that this man writes music and has cultivated his style and does what he does. And again, you see his fan base just absolutely adore him for that. But there's such an intensity to his character, to his music, and especially covering themes of life and death and the heavy stuff. He's not afraid to tackle that. The last decade has been rough on the man. He's lost 2 sons. I wouldn't wish that upon anybody. I cannot imagine how difficult that would be. But his perspective at age 66 is, it's something that made me tear up, reading interviews with him, listening to him talk about how those experiences, he says that I don't think life could hand me anything that's worse than what I had to deal with and going through that. And so you come out on the other side, and I think that's the best thing about growing up and maturing and dealing with life and dealing with experience, that when life rears its ugly head, because it's going to, you have the ability and you have the experience to cope with those tough times, and it's important. And listening to him talk about being on the other side of all this and feeling joy, feeling happiness, knowing that there's nothing else that life can throw at me that's going to bring me down more than that. And while I'm still here, I'm going to enjoy it, write music, and create these beautiful compositions that build up Wild God. 10 amazing songs. You talk about this dynamic of doubt, but how that also creates faith. And I think that's so important. Like you can't have faith without this idea of there not being anything, right? The whole idea of faith is that you don't know for certain, but there's enough evidence that you've been given in life that leads you to believe that. And he talks about the last 4 decades of his career and reflecting on that, and how he couldn't maybe quite pinpoint what was going on in his life. But these last few records have been so personal as far as that objective of dealing with grief, coming to terms with the loss of his sons. And in a way, he talks about making the music to communicate with them. And that's where I just started tearing up a little bit. It's like, oh my God. But you can feel the intensity. You can feel these compositions that are coming together, not just as songs, but also in a way, they're brought together in a way that feels like they're forming communication. They really are that unique, that powerful, and that dynamic. I can't get over each and every one of these songs and how unique and enriching they are. We're just talking about Illuminati Hotties yesterday, And, Sarah Tudson is an incredible sound engineer. She's someone that you get her into the studio, and there's a reason that her outfit, I believe, is better than so many other alternative outfits that are out there like hers, doing what she's doing. Nick Cave, these compositions, he's one of those guys that with, whether it's, Mick Harvey early on, I know that there's a lot of you that probably, I don't know what people's opinion really. I mean, Warren Ellis obviously is a phenomenal multi-instrumentalist, but Mick Harvey is as well. And, knowing what was going on with the music at different times, it's, I'd love to hear it in the comments. Like, what is your favorite period for this band? Because I think that there's been turnover that's going to happen over 40 years, I feel like, but it feels like it's been a slow turnover. And you've had, Thomas Weidler, I believe is how you say his last name. But like Martin Casey, Thomas has been there since 1985. Martin's been there since 1990. Jim, there since 1994. You have a lot of consistency in this lineup still, despite major players moving along. But I think that's what makes this outfit so captivating as well, is, big personalities, big musical personalities that are helping Nick drive this in a certain direction. Obviously, he's going to be the top dog, but it certainly helps to have amazingly creative people around you when you're doing this kind of stuff. Wild God opens up with Song of the Lake. Just lots of bright textures. Drums have this marching quality. I really just like the way that they drift along in the song. And Nick's vocal is so pretty on this track. It borders on recitative. It's super cool. It's definitely one of those things stylistically that he's very well known for. I love the bass that comes in on the breakdown. That comes courtesy, of Colin Greenwood from Radiohead. Pretty cool appearance there. And then this song just comes back beautifully. Rich, lush instrumentation, beautiful moments of minimalism at times, and it's really just a very solid indication of what you're going to get for the next 9 songs. Your title track, Wild God, starts off with lo-fi synths. They're going to usher in this just really chill track with a smooth groove. I love the groove that this song finds. Simple arrangement, and I love the way that the piano enters in the song as well. Fills out beautifully. The back half is incredible. Just these vibrant, lush strings that come into play on the song. It really is quite pretty. Frogs is your third track. Atmospheric synths, thick rolling bass too. Really love that element on the track. Percussion rides, a little drum roll, and then the brass and the strings that come in on this particular track, again, just working so well. They are so awesome. Joy is your fourth song. Loose piano and atmospherics to open. It really has this improvised jazz quality. And a lot of these compositions, I'd argue, there's moments where they feel loose and they come together and then they'll back off. And it's such a pleasure to listen to. I can just feel myself going back to this record over and over and over again and continuing to find things. And even Nick admits that this is something that, for a lot of listeners, it might take a couple listens for it to grow on you. I didn't feel that way. I was immediately hooked the first time I listened to this thing. But Joy, it builds beautifully, got that signature recitative style and the vocals, big harmonies and horns that come in. 3 minutes, this thing, it builds back towards nothing. And then you got a big brass coda. I just love the shift in the music there. Final Rescue Attempt is your fifth track. Sci-fi synth open. The piano builds on that, along with a nice little drum roll. The piano melody is hauntingly beautiful. This is what Nick Cave does. He just has, again, it's just that 19th century romantic quality, that gothic element that's there. Like, he's just so good at capturing that energy. Really just love the atmospheric build in that track. Your sixth song, Conversion, synth textures, simple piano to open on this thing. Vocal enters in to ride. You got this minimal feel as the piano works back with the vocal textures as well on top of that. Wood instrumentation that comes in around 2 minutes, and 30 seconds after that, it goes big. Really like the way that song blows up. Cinnamon Horses, your seventh track. Synths and simple piano to open. Horns are going to build in behind the vocal element once that comes in, and it's intermittent. A very pretty gentle track that evolves with piano textures, and then by the end, it goes big, it goes cinematic, talking about Nick Cave's experience, not just working in the studio, but also creating scores and creating music for film, and having that element, just that card in his back pocket adds so much unique flavor, I feel like, to a lot of his songs. Long Dark Night is your 8th song, piano, vocals to open. They carry to this little crash, and it's going to build out the instrumentation. Really like that. Backs to this minimal track, and I really just enjoyed the way that it leads into. I think that this is probably going to be your best song. Oh wow, how wonderful she is. Super pretty. Got this piano and vocal open. It's very chill instrumentation that builds in. I like the drum element is phenomenal here. There's a great whistling element, but this song is just, it's so pretty, and I really love the lyrics. I think the lyrics are certainly one of those that are worth pulling up and following along when you check this track out. And as the waters cover the sea is your final track. Piano textures that build behind. I just love the way that the strings work in. Vocals are going to build in, and this thing just builds to swell. It's gorgeous. It's a phenomenal way to finish this record. I think that the average listener at first might find a little monotony in these compositions. There's a lot of similarity as far as just, the whether it's the brass elements, the string elements that are working in. But I think that's where Nick talks about, this is a builder. This is going to be an album that it might require a few listens for you. If not, great. If it does, I would really encourage you to check this thing out, because at 44 minutes, 10 songs, it's got that perfect album build, and it's pretty exceptional. I'm honestly, I'm going to give this thing an 8.1 out of 10. It's probably one of my favorite records of the year so far, and Vinyl Please for sure as well. Hope you enjoy this record. Hope you find this review helpful. Please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, do all the things to help me blow this project up in 2024. Stay tuned throughout the week for more album reviews, and tune in to Classic Wax on Monday mornings at 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, 10 a.m. Eastern. We will see you next time on the Beat Sessions.